What if I told you that on Thanksgiving Eve, 1971, a man walked onto a commercial airplane, hijacked it with a bomb, extorted $200,000 in cash, parachuted into a thunderstorm, and was never seen again? No body, no parachute, no trace. To this day, he's the only hijacker in American history to get away with it. The FBI investigated for 45 years. They questioned over 1,000 suspects. They spent millions of dollars, and they never solved it. This is the story of D.B. Cooper, the man who vanished into legend. November 24th, 1971, Thanksgiving Eve, Portland International Airport. It's a rainy Wednesday afternoon in the Pacific Northwest. The terminal is busy with holiday travelers heading home to spend Thanksgiving with their families. Among them is a man, mid-40s, average height, dark suit, black tie. He's carrying a black briefcase and wearing dark sunglasses despite the overcast sky. Nothing about him stands out. He looks like any other businessman catching a flight. Around 2:30 p.m., he approaches the Northwest Orient Airlines ticket counter. He's polite, calm. He purchases a one-way ticket to Seattle. The flight is only 30 minutes. The ticket costs $20 cash. No credit card. No identification required. Because in 1971, you didn't need ID to fly. The ticket agent asks for his name. He gives it without hesitation. Dan Cooper. The name means nothing to her. She issues the ticket. Boarding pass. Seat 18C. Aisle seat in the last row of the cabin. Dan Cooper walks to the gate. He boards Northwest Orient Flight 305, a Boeing 727. Registration number, November 467, Uniform Sierra. There are 36 passengers on board, 6 crew members. Captain William Scott is at the controls. First Officer William Radicek is his co-pilot. Flight Engineer Harold Anderson monitors the systems. 3 flight attendants work the cabin: Alice Hancock, Florence Schaffner, and 22-year-old Tina Mucklow. None of them have any idea what's about to happen. Cooper takes his seat. 18C, last row, aisle. Perfect position. He can see the entire cabin in front of him. No one can see what he's doing from behind. At 2:50 p.m., Flight 305 pushes back from the gate. The engines spool up. The Boeing 727 taxis to the runway. Moments later, they're airborne, climbing out over Portland, heading north to Seattle. It's a short flight, 30 minutes, barely enough time for a drink service. Cooper orders a bourbon and soda. Flight attendant Florence Schaffner brings it to him. He's polite, quiet. He lights a Raleigh cigarette. He seems perfectly normal, just another businessman on a short hop to Seattle. And then, about 5 minutes into the flight, Cooper does something that will change everything. He pulls out a piece of paper, handwritten note. He hands it to Florence Schaffner. Schaffner takes it. She doesn't read it immediately. Flight attendants got notes from passengers all the time, usually phone numbers, lonely businessmen trying to get a date. She's not interested. She puts it in her pocket without looking at it. Cooper leans toward her. He gestures. His voice is calm but insistent. "Miss, you'd better read that note. I have a bomb." Schaffner freezes. She pulls out the note. Her hands are shaking as she unfolds it. She reads. The note says, "Miss, I have a bomb in my briefcase, and I want you to sit by me. Schaffner looks at Cooper. He's staring at her. Calm. No emotion. He opens his briefcase. Just a few inches. Just enough for her to see inside. Wires. Red cylinders that look like dynamite. A battery. It looks real. It looks like a bomb. Cooper's voice is quiet, professional, almost polite. Sit down next to me. Don't make a scene. I don't want to hurt anyone, but I need you to write down exactly what I tell you. Schaffner sits. Her heart is pounding. Cooper begins dictating his demands. Schaffner writes them on the back of an envelope. Her handwriting is shaky, but she gets every word. Cooper wants $200,000 in cash, negotiable American currency, $20 bills, 10,000 of them. No marked bills, no die packs, no funny business. He wants 4 parachutes, 2 main parachutes, 2 reserve parachutes. He wants a fuel truck standing by when they land in Seattle, ready to refuel the plane immediately. He wants all of this by 5 p.m., less than 2 hours. And then Cooper adds one more thing. No funny business. Schaffner takes the note to the cockpit. Captain Scott reads it. His face goes pale. He immediately radios Seattle Air Traffic Control. We have a hijacking in progress. Air Traffic Control contacts the FBI, the Seattle Police Department, Northwest Orient Airlines headquarters. The response is immediate. This is now a federal case. On board Flight 305, the passengers have no idea what's happening. The crew tells them there's a minor mechanical issue. They'll be circling Puget Sound for a while before landing. The passengers are annoyed but not alarmed. It's Thanksgiving Eve. They just want to get home. But up in the cockpit, Captain Scott is in constant communication with the ground. The FBI is mobilizing. Northwest Orient's president, Donald Nyrop, authorizes full cooperation. Whatever the hijacker wants. No heroics. No one gets hurt. Meanwhile, Cooper sits calmly in seat 18C. Florence Schaffner has returned to the cockpit. Now it's Tina Mucklow sitting with Cooper. She's the youngest flight attendant, 22 years old. She's terrified. But Cooper is polite, almost friendly. He offers her a cigarette. She declines. He's drinking his bourbon, smoking, calm, like he's done this before, like this is just another day. Mucklow tries to make conversation, anything to keep him calm. She asks where he's from. Cooper's demeanor changes. He becomes evasive, irritated. You don't need to know that, he says. The grudge in his voice is unmistakable. She tries a different approach. Joking, she says, You wouldn't happen to have some of that money on you already, would you? I could use a tip. Cooper doesn't laugh. He reaches into his jacket, pulls out a bundle of bills, hands it to her. Here, take it. Mucklow is stunned. She hands it back immediately. I can't accept this, company policy. Cooper shrugs, puts the money back. He's not joking. He's not playing games. He's dead serious. For the next 2 hours, Flight 305 circles Puget Sound. The pilots are stalling, buying time, hoping the FBI can meet Cooper's demands. On the ground in Seattle, it's chaos. The FBI is scrambling to gather $200,000. In 1971, that's a fortune, equivalent to over $1.5 million today. Northwest Orient authorizes payment immediately. They contact banks all over Seattle, gathering bundles of $20 bills, 10,000 of them. But there's a problem. The FBI needs time to photograph the serial numbers. Every single bill. 10,000 serial numbers. They work fast. Microfilm cameras clicking. One bill after another. If Cooper spends any of this money, they'll know. The parachutes are easier. The FBI contacts local skydiving centers. Within an hour, they have 4 parachutes. 2 from a skydiving school in Issaquah, 2 from a businessman named Norman Hayden in Kent, Washington. These are military-style parachutes, packed by a professional rigger named Earl Cossey. But there's something the FBI doesn't tell Cooper. One of the parachutes they're giving him is a training parachute, a dummy. It's been sewn shut. It doesn't work. It can't open. Why would they do that? Because the FBI is betting Cooper knows parachutes. If he's an expert, he'll inspect them. He'll reject the dummy. And if he's not an expert, well, the problem might solve itself. 5:24 p.m. Flight 305 lands at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. 2 hours and 34 minutes after Cooper handed that note to Florence Schaffner. Cooper orders the pilots to taxi to a remote, well-lit area of the tarmac. Away from the terminal. Away from people. He wants the cabin lights dimmed. He doesn't want anyone looking in the windows. The plane stops. The engines idle. Cooper gives his next order. Send one person, alone, unarmed, with the money and the parachutes. No one else approaches this aircraft. A Northwest Orient employee drives a company car across the tarmac. He's alone, unarmed. He approaches the rear stairs of the 727. Tena Mucklow opens the door. The employee hands up the parachutes, 2 at a time, 4 total. Then he brings the money, a large canvas bank bag, heavy, 20 pounds of cash. Mucklow carries everything to Cooper in the back of the plane. Cooper opens the bag. He checks the money, counts a few bundles, nods, satisfied. One of the flight attendants, Florence Schaffner, nervously asks if she can retrieve her purse from a compartment behind Cooper's seat. Cooper looks at her. His voice is calm, almost amused. "I won't bite you." Cooper examines the parachutes. Someone offers him printed instructions for how to use them. Cooper waves them off. "I don't need those." That response tells the FBI something important. Cooper knows parachutes. Or at least, he thinks he does. Here's the thing. Cooper should have noticed that one of those parachutes was a dummy, sewn shut, non-functional. But he doesn't say anything. Either he didn't check carefully, or he doesn't know as much about parachutes as he's pretending. Cooper's demands have been met. It's time for his next move. He tells the crew, "Release the passengers, and 2 of the flight attendants. I only need 1 to stay with me." At 5:45 p.m., all 36 passengers deplane. They have no idea their flight was just hijacked. They're confused about the delay, but relieved to be on the ground. 2 flight attendants, Florence Schaffner and Alice Hancock, also leave the aircraft. Remaining on board, Captain William Scott, First Officer William Ratitzak, Flight Engineer Harold Anderson, Flight Attendant Tena Mucklow, and Dan Cooper. Now comes the refueling. But there's a problem. The fuel truck malfunctions. They need to bring in additional trucks. 3 fuel trucks in total. It takes time. Cooper is patient. He waits. An FAA official radios the cockpit. He wants permission to board the plane, to warn Cooper about the dangers of what he's planning, to talk him out of it. Cooper refuses. No one else comes on this plane. Finally, the refueling is complete. Cooper gives the pilots his flight instructions. He's very specific, very precise. Destination: Mexico City. But they'll need to refuel again. Stop in Reno, Nevada. Flight parameters: fly at 10,000 feet or lower, no higher. Landing gear down and extended throughout the flight. Wing flaps set to 15 degrees. Airspeed as slow as possible. No more than 200 knots. Cabin unpressurized. The pilots are stunned. These instructions are bizarre. Flying with the landing gear down at low altitude will burn fuel rapidly. They'll barely make it to Reno. And flying unpressurized at 10,000 feet in the middle of winter, it's going to be freezing in the cabin. But then they realize why Cooper wants these specific conditions. Low altitude, slow speed, unpressurized cabin. Aft stairs. He's going to jump. Cooper wants one more thing. He wants the aft stairway lowered before takeoff. The pilots refuse. It's too dangerous. The stairs could hit the runway. Cooper reluctantly agrees. He'll lower them once they're airborne. 7:40 p.m. Nearly 5 hours after the hijacking began, Flight 305 takes off from Seattle, heading south. 5 people on board, pure crew members, and a hijacker with $200,000 and 4 parachutes. Cooper orders Tena Mucklow to go to the cockpit. "Tell me how to work the aft stairs," he says. Mucklow explains the mechanism. Cooper listens carefully. Then he sends her forward to join the rest of the crew. "Close the door. Don't come back here. Don't try to look. Stay in the cockpit until we land." Mucklow does as she's told. The cockpit door closes. Cooper is alone in the passenger cabin. He removes his clip-on tie, leaves it on a seat. He puts his sunglasses back on, puts on his black raincoat. He takes one of the parachutes, the military-style one, non-steerable. Not the best choice for an expert jumper, but that's what he takes. Cooper uses a knife to cut the cords from the reserve parachute. Shroud lines, strong nylon. He fashions a harness, ties the bank bag full of money to his waist. 20 pounds of cash. It's going to affect his descent, make the jump even more dangerous. But Cooper doesn't seem to care. The other parachute, the one that was sewn shut, is also missing. Some investigators think Cooper used the container as an extra bag. Maybe he split the money into 2 bundles. We'll never know. At 8 p.m., a warning light illuminates in the cockpit. The aft ventral stairway has been activated. Cooper is opening the rear door. Captain Scott is flying the plane manually now, fighting to keep it level. Opening that door changes the aerodynamics. The plane wants to pitch nose up. Scott compensates. The crew can feel the temperature drop. Cold air is rushing into the cabin from the open stairway. It's 15 degrees below zero outside. The wind is howling. 8:13 p.m. The plane suddenly lurches. The tail dips. Captain Scott has to retrim the aircraft. Something heavy just left the plane. Cooper jumped. The pilots note the time, 8:13 p.m., and the location. They're approximately 25 miles north of Portland, Oregon, near the Lewis River area, over the Cascade foothills, dense forest, mountains, and right now, there's a thunderstorm below them. Heavy rain, lightning, zero visibility. Cooper jumped into that. At 10,000 feet, in a business suit and loafers, with a non-steerable parachute, carrying 20 pounds of cash, in a thunderstorm, on a moonless night, into a forest. The temperature outside is 15 degrees below zero. Wind speed at altitude, over 200 miles per hour. Wind chill, deadly. Captain Scott radios ahead to Reno. "I think he jumped. The aft stairs activated. We felt a shift in the aircraft. He's gone." The plane continues south, flying with the aft stairs still extended, burning fuel. The crew is in shock. Did he really just jump? In those conditions? That's suicide. 10:15 p.m. Flight 305 lands in Reno, Nevada, 2 hours after Cooper jumped. The plane taxis to a stop. FBI agents surround the aircraft. Captain Scott calls over the intercom. "Dan, are you still back there?" Silence. The crew opens the cockpit door. They walk back to the passenger cabin. It's freezing. The aft stairs are still extended. Wind and rain are blowing in. The cabin is empty. Cooper is gone. The money is gone. 2 parachutes are gone. The black briefcase is gone. Left behind, 1 unused parachute. The civilian sport parachute, the better one. Cooper left it. 8 cigarette butts, Raleigh brand, and a clip-on tie, black, from J.C. Penney. That's it. That's all the evidence. Cooper vanished into the night, into the storm, into the wilderness. Within hours, the largest manhunt in Pacific Northwest history begins. Military jets scramble. 2 F-106 fighters from McChord Air Force Base tried to follow the 727. They saw nothing. It was too dark, too stormy. Ground search parties deploy at first light. Helicopters sweep the forests. Bloodhounds track through the woods. The Army, the FBI, local police. Hundreds of searchers, thousands of man-hours. They find nothing. No body, no parachute, no briefcase, no money. Nothing. D.B. Cooper had vanished. The FBI launches one of the longest and most expensive investigations in Bureau history. They call it NORJAC, Northwest Hijacking. Over the next 5 years, they investigate more than 800 suspects. They'll eventually look at over 1,000 people. Everyone from military parachutists to con artists to airline employees. They interview the crew multiple times. The flight attendants describe Cooper in detail. Mid-40s, about 5'10" to 6 feet tall, 170 to 180 pounds. Olive complexion, dark hair, brown eyes. Polite, calm, professional. Spoke with no accent. Seemed comfortable. Seemed like he knew what he was doing. The FBI creates composite sketches, but the witnesses say the sketches don't capture him. They're close, but not quite right. Cooper's face becomes a ghost, familiar but elusive. The tie provides a clue. Years later, when DNA testing becomes available, they test it. Inconclusive. But they find something else. Particles on the tie. Microscopic traces of titanium, stainless steel, and aluminum. The kind of particles you'd find if you worked in aerospace manufacturing or chemical processing. Somewhere industrial, somewhere technical. But that doesn't narrow it down much. Thousands of people in the Seattle area work in aerospace. Boeing is right there. Months pass, then years. No new leads, no evidence, no body. The case grows cold. The FBI keeps investigating, but there's nothing to go on. Cooper is a ghost. And then, 9 years after the hijacking, on a cold Sunday in February 1980, An 8-year-old boy named Brian Ingram is camping with his family along the Columbia River, a place called Tena Bar, North Bank, about 9 miles downstream from Vancouver, Washington. Brian is clearing a spot in the sand to build a campfire. He's using his hands to smooth out the sand, and his hand hits something hard, buried about 3 inches deep. He digs it out. It's a bundle of rotting $20 bills, held together with a crumbling rubber band. He digs more, finds 2 more bundles. The bills are decomposed, falling apart, but the serial numbers are still visible. Brian's father contacts the FBI. Agents arrive within hours. They check the serial numbers. They match. This is Cooper's ransom money, $5,800 out of $200,000. 3 bundles. The rest is gone. The FBI cordons off the beach. They excavate for nearly a week, sifting through sand, looking for more bills, more evidence, anything. They find a few fragments, scraps of bills, but that's it. No parachute, no briefcase, no clothing, no body. And here's the strange part. A geologist named Leonard Palmer studies the site. He finds that the Columbia River was dredged in 1974, 3 years after Cooper jumped. Dredge spoils, sand from the river bottom, was dumped at Tena Bar. That sand formed a new layer on top of the existing beach, and the Cooper money was found in that layer. The upper layer, which means the money was deposited there sometime after 1974, not in 1971. How did the money get there? If Cooper died in the jump, why did it take 3 years for the money to reach the river? If he survived, why would he bury money and leave it there? In 2020, scientists analyzed microscopic algae, diatoms, found on the bills. They only found springtime blooming diatoms, which means the money entered the water in spring or summer. Really, not in November when Cooper jumped. Months later, maybe even years later. The money creates more questions than answers. And to this day, no one else has ever found another Cooper bill. Out of 10,000 $20 bills, only 290 were ever recovered. The rest vanished, just like Cooper. The FBI investigated for 45 years. They looked at over 1,000 suspects. They followed thousands of leads. They spent millions of dollars. And in July 2016, they officially closed the case. Not solved, just closed. They moved it to inactive status. They said their resources were better spent elsewhere. But that doesn't mean the mystery is over. Because in late 2024, something happened. Something that might change everything. Richard Floyd McCoy Jr., a name that's been connected to the Cooper case for decades. McCoy hijacked a plane in April 1972, 5 months after Cooper. Same method, same type of plane, parachuted out with the ransom money. But McCoy got caught. He left fingerprints, evidence. He was convicted, sent to prison. Then he escaped. And in 1974, he was killed in a shootout with FBI agents. For years, people wondered, was McCoy also Cooper? The FBI said no. The physical descriptions didn't match. Witnesses say McCoy didn't look like Cooper. The FBI officially ruled him out. But in 2024, McCoy's adult children came forward, his son and daughter. They contacted an investigator named Dan Greider, and they showed him something, a modified parachute rig, hidden in a storage shed on their family's property in North Carolina for over 50 years. The children believe this parachute was used in the Cooper hijacking. They believed their father was D.B. Cooper. The FBI is now examining this evidence. After 53 years, there might finally be an answer. Or this might be just another dead end in a case full of them. So what really happened to D.B. Cooper? Did he survive the jump? Most experts say no. The conditions were too extreme. The equipment was inadequate. The weather was deadly. The odds of survival were less than 1%. He probably died on impact, or shortly after from exposure. His body is somewhere in the forests of Washington, overgrown, lost, never to be found. But then why did some of the money turn up 9 years later? Why didn't it all wash up together? Why has no one ever spent a single Cooper bill? Why has no one ever found his parachute, his briefcase, his remains? Maybe Cooper did survive. Maybe he made it. Maybe he buried the money intending to come back for it. And maybe he never could. Maybe he was injured. Maybe he died later. Maybe he's been living under a new name for 50 years, laughing at all of us. We may never know. The only thing we know for certain is this. On November 24th, 1971, a man calling himself Dan Cooper hijacked a Boeing 727, extorted $200,000, and parachuted into a thunderstorm over Washington state. And he was never seen again. Next Monday, we're going to dive deeper into that jump. What were the conditions? What was Cooper thinking? Why did he choose those flight parameters? And what do the experts say really happened when he opened that door and stepped into the darkness? This is part 1 of our complete D.B. Cooper series. If you want to know what happened next, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because this mystery only gets stranger, and the evidence only gets more confusing. And the theories? They get wild. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think D.B. Cooper survived? Do you think he's still out there? Or do you think his body is lying in a forest somewhere, waiting to be found? Thanks for watching. I'll see you next Monday on Global Crime Vault 360. In memory of the crew of Northwest Orient Flight 305, who showed incredible courage on Thanksgiving Eve 1971. How would you like to continue our discussion on the D.B. Cooper case?